Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, brought to you by the great folks at Montana's. Give me a ding-dong anyway, Chris.
No ding-dongs. They're done.
Fine, the ding-dongs are done, but Montana's is here. They're bringing back the viewing party, the art of the viewing party. We've been out to Montana's a few times. They've got the daily deals, half-price wings on Monday. On Tuesdays, kids eat for $2.
Yeah,
Wednesdays, it's the all-you-can-eat ribs. Remember how much money Montana saved by having me out for all-you-can-eat ribs. Thursday, they got the drink specials. And yeah, you can go head over to Montana's.
Half-price wings.
7 locations in BC, all over the map. Fort St. John, Kelowna, Langley, Nanaimo, Prince George, Tsawwassen, and Victoria.
Half-price wings.
Yeah.
Are you when you get
wings, a little spin dip too, right?
If you're going out for, because listen, wings is not an appetizer, it's a main course. You can make it into a main course. You get fries on the side, that you can do. You got a main course right there. But the thing with chicken wings that I'm wondering, when you order wings, let's say you're going out, you're having 30, okay? Like, that's something you could do. You go out, you have 30 wings, do you think?
By myself?
Like if you're going to a wing night, yeah. Like you're going out for wings to watch sports, you're going out, you're having wings.
Like me eating 30 wings by
30
myself.
wings, because could
not
you do
for
that?
the table.
No, 30 for yourself, yeah.
No. Can
No?
you?
Well, I feel like that's a standard number. If you're going out for like wing night and it's half price wings, you get 30 wings. Like 30's not high to me. Like 50's
What?
high. 50 is a lot of wings. Like that,
That's
you're eating a lot
higher.
of wings. Yeah.
30 is a high number of wings to eat.
No,
isn't
it's
it?
not. 30's not that much. Well, I guess it depends on the wings too. Some
get like
places
a
are bigger than
dozen-
smaller.
Well, I guess I'm talking jumbo wings.
That's the thing. 2 dozen doesn't sound too daunting.
I could eat like a dozen of those. And for the podcast listeners, we're looking at the beautiful looking wings on Montana's there.
No, 30 wings is like an acceptable amount. 30 wings is just a little bit more than 2 dozen, and that's not a lot of wings.
I don't know, man. I think 30 is really a high number.
No, I feel like that's a standard one.
No, I think a dozen wings.
It depends on the wings too. If you're at the Landlubber, they got those little dinky ones. You're doing at least 30. That's the thing. But you start with 2 flavors and then you work from there. You get 2 sets of 10, and then you get your 3rd flavor after. Unless listen, if you're going in for a quick bite and you're in and out, maybe you do a dozen.
Chat is confused by you throwing out the number 30 as for one person.
I don't think that's 2 out of that. What I was trying to say is how many. I wanted to ask, like, out of your 30,
30?
you have to get 10 just hot wings.
Sure.
Basic hot wings. That's what I was trying to get to, but I didn't think that 30 was out of the equation here.
30 is okay. Anyways, we totally went off the rails.
It's a lot of the ones that have a lot of breading. That's where it would get you. But just like wings, like, you know.
And we're getting an inside glimpse as to why there's half-price wings and all-you-can-eat ribs, and not the other way around. Over at Montana's, who are very kind, very kind.
I went to an all-you-can-eat wings thing back in the day when I was about probably 14, and had 83 wings that day.
Corey Anderson bringing up a good point in the chat. Montana's wings are double dusted, so 30 of those would be pretty filling.
So there you go. Maybe you saved a little bit of money, then you don't have to get 30. You get 2 dozens.
Well, it's half price.
Nobody should be scoffing at eating 24 chicken wings. I don't care how big they are. You should be able to eat 24 chicken wings.
That is a high number of chicken wings.
No, it's not.
24 is a high number of anything to eat. Like, other than French fries. That's a high number to eat of anything.
No. 24
anything
pieces of
sushi. Individually pick up.
Sushi, 24
pieces of sushi. Yeah, that's a high amount.
That's
a high number of sushi.
That's like 3 sets of regular California rolls. That's not too crazy.
Who is sitting down to eat 3 sets of California rolls?
Anybody who's having a goddamn meal, Quads. If you're having a meal,
no.
I get where you're coming from. If you're having a snack, right? You have you get 2 things of California rolls, 16 pieces right there.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
If you're having a meal, you're Italian, Quads. I thought you had. What do you sit down and you have 24 pieces of spaghetti and that's it?
You don't count out your pasta. You can eat a whole box of pasta. That's totally different.
Well, apparently counting food's a problem now, so maybe you should start counting your spaghetti strips or whatever they're called, the pieces of the pasta. 30 wings is not. It's not out of the equation.
Okay.
Frank Seravalli's on the show. He's gonna back me up with the 30 wings thing, because that's not
Okay. Okay. Be sure to check out Montana's.
The pandemic is ruined. Before the pandemic, 30 wings was not a big deal.
And then people started worrying about their health.
And then you got the masks involved, and then people couldn't eat the hot wings. You get the hot wing sauce in your face. Before the pandemic, 30 wings, easy.
Okay. Be sure to go check out Montana's half price wings. We're moving on from the wing chat here. Let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks.
I thought you had an off top. You said bring up Beyblades. You said.
I'll do it another time.
Tomorrow?
Yep. It's not. We got a busy show today. It's another time.
Had those little. They had the dragons on the top of the Beyblade, and everybody lost theirs all the time. Those were a hot commodity on the Harewood.
Okay,
elementary. Let's
start here. You want to talk about Andrei Kuzmenko's trade value, but before we do that, I really want to just quickly wrap up the weekend that was. Let's quickly talk about the Vancouver Canucks loss to the Winnipeg Jets by final score of 7-4. You watch this game, and I think the simplest way to put it is this was the perfect game if you're a Canucks fan and you're a regular listener of this show and you kind of know where we want the team to go in terms of direction, and that's toward a rebuild, is toward a retool, whatever you want to call it, like an actual one where you're trading off assets other than Pettersson and Hughes. Now, not yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. Excuse me. That game on Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock start, by the way.
I'll tell you. Can I quickly? You're going up against the final week of the NFL playoff or NFL regular season. What are you doing?
Why wouldn't you start that game later?
Dude, you know what? Give me the 9 a.m. start. Give me the 9 a.m. start there. Go Winnipeg, 10 o'clock. Give me the 9. I don't care.
And you start an hour before the NFL games?
The noon didn't make sense at all. You had a couple days off.
Sure.
Start before the game. But I'll tell you what, you could see online. Nobody on Twitter cared. Nobody on Canucks Twitter was tweeting about it.
And you also have to wonder if how much of that is due to just straight apathy.
Sure, that's fair too.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I thought it was a combination of apathy in the market as well as just not a good time.
People want to watch football.
Yeah, people want to watch football. I saw some people tweeting out like main screen. They'd have Red Zone going, and then have like a tablet. Right?
That was me. That was literally me while I was watching the game for work.
I'm not on the football anymore. My fantasy team, I got to tell you, I don't want to get started.
I finished second in that pick'em league that I was telling you about.
Oh, good for you.
I finished second. I was a little disappointed I didn't get first, but can't win them all.
I traded all my futures to go for it this year, and I lost in the first round of the playoffs.
Jeez, that sucks.
So, and that's a heavy league.
Okay, the reason that this game on Sunday was such a great game, if you're a Canucks fan, is because the team's skill players did well. Bo Horvat raised his trade value. Andrei Kuzmenko raised his trade value, which we'll get to in a second. And most of all, the Canucks got 0 points out of it, increasing their tank. Jamie Dodd had this stat today, and I thought it was very interesting. Of course, Jamie Dodd over at Sportsnet 650, friend of the show, I'd say. Jamie's a nice guy. He's had us on a lot of times over his stuff. But he tweeted this out. After giving up 7 goals in Winnipeg yesterday, the Canucks are allowing 3.9 goals per game. That's 31st in the league, only better than Anaheim. Not better than Chicago, not better than Arizona, these teams that the Canucks are competing with for the bottom of the standings. It is only better than the Anaheim Ducks. Not better than the Columbus Blue Jackets, not better than the San Jose Sharks. Now, my point, Chris, what I'm coming toward here is this January schedule so far, and I know they had that good win over Colorado, where this team just needs to be kicked in the pants, I feel like, to get going. And that's a problem. Obviously, that means you're a flawed team. But we saw it in that Colorado game, and we talked about it. But the way they kind of came out and, they gave a full effort and they were rewarded for it, right? But they can't do it consistently. This team is broken. Everybody knows that at this point, and they need some changes. Now, this January schedule that we talked about being something that, the Canucks are going to have to make moves because the January schedule is going to really show them what they are as a team.
Yeah, push them in the right direction.
The goaltending was what we expected the goaltending would be like when Thatcher Demko went down yesterday, with Colin Delia getting the pull after 4 goals, I believe, on 9 shots against. I'm not sure if that's right. He might have made 9 saves. So apologies to Colin Delia if I got that wrong. But regardless, my point is, Chris, that the Canucks goaltending wasn't very good in that game, and we're seeing it come back down to earth. I hate saying this because I've done this at least 3 times this calendar year, which has just started. But I am working on an article where I kind of examine the Canucks goaltending woes, and I'm trying to figure out, how to contextualize what it would look like if this team was getting just average goaltending. And then obviously I'm going to add to that what it would look like if they were getting the Demko level of goaltending that we saw last year.
Yeah, because you look at the numbers from yesterday, and yeah, you're right. 9 saves for Delia on 13 shots. Martin wasn't much better. 11 saves on 14 shots, and 7 goals between your 2 goaltenders. Not great.
No, not great.
But at the same time, wasn't just all on them either, man. Yep. It was one of those nights again. It was one of those nights where the Canucks just there are certain teams, and Winnipeg's one of them. Winnipeg swept the Canucks now this season. they're just teams where like this team can't even compete. They can't even, rest on their laurels of what's strong in this group and helps them win games. There's just certain teams they just can't do it. Like there's certain teams that I don't know if it's structure or if it's just players or if it's the style or the forecheck or the breakouts are different. It kind of comes back to structure, honestly, which is, that's the word of the year, it seems like so far this season. But it just feels like there's at least a handful of teams where the Canucks just don't look like they have a chance of winning that night.
Look, it's structure and it's effort level. This was included in the stat sheets. I think I might have even included in the instant reaction, but Rob Williams had the poll. He posted the clip on Twitter. But Connor Garland, there was a back check there where he turned over the puck and just didn't try. And if he did, he might have actually disrupted a goal. He kind of was like, oh, okay, well, it's going the other way. And it's that kind of effort, Chris. And again, like, we criticize JT Miller a lot in this market for that kind of effort. Granted, he's higher paid, but Connor Garland especially, like, JT Miller got 3 points, also the most JT Miller game of all time, gets 3 points, finishes the night as a -1. But we criticize JT Miller a lot for that. And Connor Garland especially, like, nothing's really working for Garland this year. And I understand you're frustrated, but man, like, it's just that level. It was just a good kind of example of this is where this team's at right now. Yeah. Just nobody's trying, it feels like.
And Corey says big teams that can skate. That seems to be the thing that's giving Canucks problems. And yeah, it feels like, and it's interesting to think about it. Like earlier in the season when Boudreaux's like taking Höglander out to put in, a bigger guy on your fourth line, thinking like that's going to change. Or Kyle Burrows isn't playing because you want Riley Stillman, who's this physical beast, to play instead. And it's just like, nothing's working for them against these big teams. But I tell you, I want to talk about Kuzmenko a little bit. Wrote the article on Saturday after he had that 2-goal outing. And Kuzmenko's trade value, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people realize how much this player could return in a trade for you right now. Like, we can see the stats right now on the screen. 38 games played, 17 goals, 18 assists, 35 points. He's, like, with his cap value, I seriously think he's returning a first, a second plus.
Yeah, it's almost an unprecedented trade value, Chris.
It really is.
And hey, we were saying the same thing about JT Miller last year, were we not? So the one thing that the Canucks can't do.
Oh, I got the wrong thing on the graphic too. My bad there, YouTube.
Whatever it is.
I got him as a defenseman.
Oh yeah. Dog. That stands for dog.
Yeah, he's a dog.
Anyways, what my point here, Chris, is we heard that with JT Miller of, well, he's priced himself out of the market. Like that was a legitimate thing I was hearing from sources that I was talking to in the league, was they were saying, well, he's priced himself out of the market. The Canucks are asking this, and we don't really blame them. Like, it wasn't like people were saying the Canucks ask is just too high. They shouldn't be asking for that. They said, no, it's pretty unprecedented production for him right now. And they want a lot in return for him. So it didn't really surprise me that was the case last year, but
it feels like every team in the top, like,
Hey, can you guys hear me?
guest your vmix link.
Oh no.
So he is joined as Faber. I'm honestly not even sure if people on the live show can hear us right now. So bear with us, folks.
All right, you guys will handle that. That's my bad then. I could have sworn I put the right one in for Frank. But another example, as I run through some of these trade comparables for Andrei Kuzmenko's value, is Jeremy Lauzon went for a second-round pick at the deadline last year. He had one goal in 53 games before the trade, and was averaging 18 minutes a night. The reason why he went for such a high value, having one goal on the season when he got traded at the deadline, was because of his low cap hit. So when you combine these two of Andrew Kopp, who, had money on his deal when he was traded, comparing that to what Lozon got for having such a low cap, now you can see why Kuzmenko could have such huge value. And I get it. Like, he's been great with Elias Pettersson. That's been nice to see. But at the same time, like, I just think you got to look down the road a little bit more here. And this might be one of those situations where we've seen players be pretty exciting with the Canucks top players. Like, we've seen guys come in and really look good. Like, Brock Besser looked really good in his first few years and has dropped off quite a bit. Connor Garland looked really good in his first year, dropped off quite a bit. With Kuzmenko, like, this feels like the time where if the value is really there, like, you've got to take a risk for it. I want to bring up one last one here. Cal Yarncroke. He was on an expiring deal with a $2 million cap hit when he was traded last year. He saw half of his salary retained, returned to second, third, and seventh. At the time, Yarncroke had 12 goals and 14 assists.
Okay, Frank's waiting. We'll get to this after.
Lots to, I tell you what, Kuzmenko's value is going to surprise.
It will. Absolutely.
If he is dealt.
Yeah, absolutely. And joining us now, courtesy of Zephyr Epic, we'll talk about them afterwards. Oh, and we got you're able to punch me again through your green screen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you are.
Look at that.
Yeah, okay. Frank Seravalli of Daily Faceoff joining us now. Frank, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Faber, show us the guns, man.
Just a little bit. I worked out every day in November, Frank. That was my New Year's resolution, was 1 month of the year, work out every single day. I didn't say I was going to work out legs. I worked out the arms every single day in November.
Good for you. Honestly, New Year's resolution, new me. Dry January going on. Also got on the treadmill, gave it a run for the first time, I think, since high school yesterday. So, yeah, it's been an adventure in January. Like going down the hill on a scooter with one wheel, just trying to hang on.
Frank, I got to get your insight on this then, because I'm getting ripped off the top of the show here. If you're going out to eat chicken wings, 30 is my number of, like, that's a base. 30 chicken wings is a base. Quads is saying that's ridiculous.
I said that's a high number of chicken wings to eat, Frank. 30 chicken wings. Faber's asking, like, oh yeah, anybody just
there's
down
different
30
kind
wings.
of wings. They're not all huge bread. Like, certain places will have just a chicken wing with, like, you can do 30 of those easy.
See, here's a question for you that it'll tell me a lot about you. Are you a flats or drumstick guy?
Oh, flats for sure. You pinch the end, pop it off, pull the one bone, and suck the whole thing right off of there. Don't clip that.
Yeah, don't please. That's things that sound dirty but aren't. We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah, not. But 30 wings, Frank. I'm getting destroyed in the chat.
That's a little. That's aggressive. That's pretty aggressive.
Yeah. Enough. This is crazy. You're like the only person on your side here.
No, there was skinny guys I was going out and getting wings with back in the day. They were doing 60. Like, skinny tall guys, they can eat 60 wings all the time.
Okay. That's great for skinny tall guys.
Let's move on. All right, so I'm just doing the quick math here.
Oh no.
You
got the calculator out again, Frank.
3,000 calorie bomb right there.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about, man?
Like, you mix in like 6 to 8 beers going with it, and you forget about calories.
6 to 8 beers and how much blue cheese? Are you a blue cheese or ranch guy?
Oh, blue cheese all the way for sure.
Do you dip your wing or no?
Yeah, every single wing is dipped. I don't care if it's honey garlic or hot; it's getting dipped.
Add like 100 calories then.
I don't stray from the classic traditional flavors. Like, if you go honey barbecue or lemon pepper, too much for me. You just got to stick with the tried and true, either hot or mild, and that's the only acceptable flavor.
Well, hot or mild is the way that we're looking at the Vancouver Canucks trade values with some of these players. Andrei Kuzmenko feels hot. Frank, with his salary cap, with his production, I want to get your thoughts, because, like, I think the only thing holding him back from being a ridiculous value is the history of him in the NHL, and that's because there is none. So at his cap hit, at his production, we're saying that this could be in the realm of what Horvat's going to return. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think that's accurate, because the history isn't there, and I think more to the point, there's some legitimate concern about his shooting percentage. I mean, it's at 25%. So you come in, obviously a pretty talented player and goal scorer previously in his previous stops in Russia, and no one really knew quite what to make of him. And here's the thing, I didn't really look at Kuzmenko in the prism, at least as I was prepping for today's show, through the lens of what his trade value would be, even though that's what makes sense for the Canucks right now. I was looking at it more in terms of what does the next contract look like. And my guess is, just based on some surface level conversations that I've had with some other teams, my guess is that Kuzmenko will have some kind of offer on the table this year on a mid-range to longer term deal, somewhere in the neighborhood of, like, just call it like 5 years times $5.5 million. That's sort of my guess in terms of the window that some teams would try and get him at if he were to make it to market, or go somewhere else. But my guess is, without having talked to the Kuzmenko camp, if that's the type of offer that's on the table and you put up a 70-point season, his best bet is to try and take a 1-year deal to go prove it again. Call it 1 year at $6 million or $6.5 million, even if it's an inflated number, to then go out and prove it. And if you hit 70 points again, you're getting a bag. And I think that's probably the path that's at least what they should be inclined to think.
Now, I ask you this question more so in the context of where the Canucks are at as a franchise. Can the Canucks afford to keep Andrei Kuzmenko around right now?
Depends on what their other trade deadline moves are. What other salary are you moving out? Honestly, I think even more so than that, it depends on what is this team's mission and mandate. I think they have to rip the Band-Aid off. I've been saying this for a number of months now, that this team needs to go down the path of the full-fledged rebuild. Thomas Drance has been beating the drum. Others have as well. That they're not finding success with the components that they have now, and they're leveraged to the hilt in terms of the salary cap, and it's hurting them in the asset collection department in terms of draft capital and where you're picking in the draft. That if you really want to get moving in the direction that they should, then you should be open to having conversations about just about everyone on your roster, maybe with the exception of Elias Pettersson. And even then, Frank, I would have to think that everything should be on the table. And so can they afford to keep him? Yeah, I mean, mathematically and cap wise, yeah, there's an avenue forward if enough pieces are moved out, but to what end, to what extent? And if there's a further erosion of talent, which everyone's expecting there to be at some point, how does that then affect his production, which then calls into question whatever contract he's given?
Frank, do you think the Canucks are going to make any buyouts this offseason?
Honestly, I thought they'd be more active on the buyout market maybe last summer. And I think the hope is always that you can try and get through to one more year. And I haven't exactly thought through the process of what some of these buyouts might look like, but who did you have in mind?
Like Tucker Poolman seems like the name that kind of jumps out, right? And that's if he's healthy. You know, obviously you wouldn't if he's still on LTIR, all that sort of stuff. But Tucker Poolman seems to make sense. Oliver Ekman-Larsson makes sense if you can get the owner to pitch in $19 million or whatever it comes out to. I know it's a ridiculous number. But like those are kind of the two that stand out the most. Obviously, Tucker Poolman being the one that would be easier to sell ownership here on. Like those are kind of the two that stand out. We've even heard in this market Connor Garland's name get thrown around in rumors, and that one came as a bit of a surprise. I don't think that's something that either of us are really beating the drum for, but you know, we're curious to get your thoughts on it because those are kind of the names that have been thrown out around here.
Personally, I think the one that kind of stands out making sense to me is Ekman-Larsson. And you made the joke about, is the owner willing to pitch in $19 million, but there's actually a $9 million real cash savings that I think is really important to keep in mind. Like that's almost $10 million US that you won't have to pay out over the course of these next 4 seasons, right? That you go, oh, well then that kind of, 19 sounds harsh, but it's really close to 30 if you keep him and keep him playing for a team that's probably not expecting to be competitive, and he's not helping much to begin with. It's not like he's shepherding along young players that is going to help them and their careers and their development take off. So I don't know, like that kind of jumps out to me, especially you're looking at in most years a $5 million plus cap savings. That's a real way to create flexibility, and it's a painful buyout to have on your books. But I think it beats the alternative of paying and suffering that cap hit for that long.
Yeah, I mean, we agree with you. We hope it kind of works out
Well,
here that way.
at the same time, I'm curious, you if you were to retain half, and OEL is going to be a difficult deal to move, obviously. You're only paying for 4 years, nothing? That 3.3, no team's going to take that?
It's not the cap hit, it's the no trade clause. That's the problem.
Right.
And that's the problem with Tyler Myers, I believe, too. No one's explicitly said to me that, it's written in stone, but I think the expectation has been with both Myers and Oliver Ekman-Larsson that they're not to be traded. They're not going anywhere, and they're not going to be, I think with Ekman-Larsson, it was like, hey, I'll move once. And they did a nice job of trying to convince him, but I don't think there's a second go around here.
Yeah, what a situation the Canucks are in. One guy we are expecting to be traded. You wrote about him today, Frank. Captain Bo Horvat. I don't want to put you on spot too much here, but I would like you to give me your top blank. You pick whatever number you want, number of teams in whatever order you want that would be interested in trading for Bo Horvat. Who's your big players here?
Well, it's not, you're not putting me on the spot because I wrote it today and listed the team specifically. And really to go, I'd say in order, I would say they're listed in alphabetical order in the story, but in terms of fits, I would say Boston 1, Colorado 2, Carolina 3, Minnesota 4, Washington 5, and then there's some non-contending teams that I think would be interested if the price was right. So when I say Boston, I've made this point to you guys previously, the idea of taking Bo Horvat and having him be the bridge to your next generation of contending teams. To take Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, and I know that's not going to make anyone in Vancouver feel good talking about the Bruins, but to take those guys in a team that obviously is lighting the league on fire this season and provide them with not just the proper support for a playoff run, but sign him to a long-term extension that you can then pass the torch from Bergeron to Horvat in terms of that play down the middle. It's not apples to apples, of course. Patrice Bergeron is one of a kind, but I would think that not only helps your chances to win, but also helps your chances of enticing someone like David Pastrnak to stay. And so that, to me, I think that is such a perfect, makes sense, perfect way to draw it up for Bo Horvat. But there's some other really good ones. I think Colorado is interesting if they can find a way to, or are willing to, maybe move Sam Girard in their back end to create the space necessary to re-sign someone like Horvat. I think Carolina is an ideal stylistic fit, but I don't think they're going to change their approach or attitude in terms of wanting to go all in. That's not what they do, generally and historically, as set from ownership on down. And then Washington is an intriguing playoff team that's gotten their act together in a big way and has a ton of cap space and flexibility in the offseason with so many free agents. And Minnesota they need a stud number one center. I think in an ideal, perfect world on a true contending team, Horvat's one of the best number twos in the league. But I think as constituted with their roster that they could really use someone like him. I also just don't know how ready and active they're going to be in terms of trying to trade future assets, given some of their dead cap space issues over the next couple years, that they're going to need those young assets and draft picks contributing to their team on entry-level contracts in order to make all the money work.
Frank, you closed out that article. The final sentence you wrote was, "It would surprise no one if the Canucks took business before the market could dictate anything to them." You've written about it in the past. Horvat is the biggest trade chip on the market, it feels like right now. How important would it be for the Canucks to maybe get ahead of this before the market starts really cranking up with, the days in advance of the deadline?
Well, I think the risk is exactly what I wrote in what happens if Dylan Larkin becomes available. And I don't have any sense that that's going to happen. I think, quite clearly, Larkin camp and the Red Wings are playing hardball. They're in a spot where they may be a playoff team, they may not be. It looks like they're fading a bit, and they may be on the outside looking in. And I don't think it's it's not simple. There's a lot of intangibles that come with this Larkin negotiation, having played through a lot of really tough years in Detroit, produced through a lot of them, and is a born and bred Michigan kid who's played almost his entire life in the Detroit area. That this is not an easy one to parse through. But that said, they have some real contracts to hand out in Detroit between Mo Seider and his next deal, Lucas Raymond and his next deal. What does Filip Hronek get on his third deal? That they've got to sort all those things out. And they may own, it's clear Detroit has a need for a center, which you would think would make it easy to lock up Larkin long term. But I think Steve Yzerman has a real budget constraint in mind. And if he's not willing to fit under it, well, then perhaps they get to a spot where they want to move him. And that would really shuffle the market, I think, in terms of teams having to make a decision. Do we want Dylan Larkin, who probably, based on career history, is a more consistent, higher end offensive producer than Bo Horvat, and certainly has nothing to sneeze at defensively? That you'd force teams to choose, and then that could then soften the market for Horvat if that's what ends up happening. And even if that's the case, by the way, I wouldn't be shocked to see a team like Detroit get in the mix to then have Horvat be that ready swap out for Larkin, which makes it really interesting.
I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing is, if Larkin gets into the market, do you see kind of like a competition coming from these non-playoff teams? Someone that wants Larkin, someone that wants Horvat. I wonder if that cranks up that market, even though you talk about, if they're rentals, it does something to the market in that point, but a sign and trade, I wonder if it opens that market a little bit.
Yeah, and we outlined in the story, what the rental market and that return might look like if a team views him purely as that, what the market in terms of a return might look like if it's a trade and sign. There's a lot of layers to this. I personally think that as much as we talk about a contending team potentially being interested, the price is so expensive from both an acquisition standpoint and the next contract standpoint that I think it really makes it hard to swallow. I think you'd have to hope, if you're one of those non-contending teams, non-playoff teams, that maybe someone just views them as a pure rental and you can get in the game after the fact. But it also depends on Horvat and his ability here to have a basically de facto no trade clause, where he could, if it's only teams are only interested in the trade and sign, that he can say, hey, whisper to his agent, I'm not interested in signing there. If they call, let them know, and he can sort of dissuade teams from that aspect. So he has certainly more power and control than a typical rental would.
Frank, great stuff as always. You're over in the East Coast right now, so I'm sure it's almost happy hour now. You can go get those 12 wings of yours. Little blue cheese on the side.
Hey, look, Montana's, they've got daily specials here. It's half price wing night on Monday. I know this is a big thing on our show on Daily Face Off Live. Head over to montanas.ca. There it is. Half price wings on Monday. That's where it's at. So I wish there was a Montana's here. That's where I would be in about 5 minutes.
That is how the pros do it. You just got a firsthand look at how the professionals do it. Frank, thanks for joining us as always. Take care.
Have a good one, guys.
There he is, Frank Seravalli. Yeah, much more professional than our 10-minute debate off the top about 30 wings or not.
Plugged the website. Guy crushed it. Courtesy of Zephyr Epic.
The good folks at Zephyr Epic too. We
just saw a professional do it, and now you're interrupting me already.
Yep, Zephyr Epic Pokemon cards. Get your hockey cards. Hockey season is the promo code. ZephyrEpic.com. ZEPHYR Epic.com. I do the Zephyr reads now with Harm, so I'm all good on the Zephyr reads.
You do great.
But this is going in the collection. Got this one for Christmas. Clefable from the Jungle set.
So usually when you read a promo code, you say what it does. You don't just shout out your promo code.
Well, just, roll the dice.
Do you know what it does?
What you can do. $5 off your order of over $50 and free shipping.
Nope. $5 off your order, regardless of the amount.
No way.
Yeah.
What if you buy $1.99? They're going to send you $3?
No, that's not how it works. There's obviously a minimum purchase, not 50.
That's what I said. It's 50.
It's not 50.
Oh,
I don't think it's 50. It's free shipping on any order.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Free shipping over 50.
Regardless.
Oh, gosh.
You use our promo code hockey season, capital H, capital S. You're saving money. You're buying hockey cards. You're buying whatever cards you want.
I'm going to try and get out there pretty soon too. I'll have some video content, and hopefully
their retail location in Surrey is where you're talking.
That's where I'm talking. You can get down to Zephyr Epic. They're going to give us. Listen, this is what I've heard. Rumor on the street. They're going to give us some cards to open too, so we'll be ripping some hockey cards as we get into.
Absolutely. So go check out Zephyr Epic. During that conversation with Frank, Chris, there was a lot of interaction in the chat here. A lot of people. Jeffro talking a lot in the chat.
Good
Corey Anderson, True Sight. We're seeing a lot of the regular commenters. Love to see it. Someone called you Clefable. Knucklehead.
Oh, I like that.
Sweet Hollow Clefable.
Oh,
I like that a lot. Okay, they're talking about these teams that Frank brought up, and I'm sure this will kind of drive the conversation for the next little bit here, but you're looking at these teams that, are a team that might be interested in getting Bo, and you look at it and now it's kind of, okay, well, who can offer you the most, right? And I think I'm dumbing it down and simply explaining how trades work, but you're looking at it and it's almost like you have to call these teams and say, hey, we're not waiting till the deadline to move this guy. We need to know what you're going to offer us, and we're taking whatever your best offer is.
Yeah, take a step forward towards making the move.
Exactly. And again, people are like, well, you got to wait. You got to see what team's best offer is. No, you have to call teams at this point and say, hey, we know you're interested. That's fantastic. We're making a move. If you don't up your offer, we're giving it to these guys. You need to find out who's going to give you the most. You need to pull the trigger. You don't have to wait. And again, I understand that pressure could turn up on the other side of the coin. Like Frank said, it could go the other way where guys enter the market. What happens if Dylan Larkin comes in, right? And again, Frank outlined that very well. And we're not going to rehash everything he said, but you have to look at it from both ways. And I think right now, considering the fact that, hey, what if this guy gets injured? That would be the most Canucks outcome possible, is if this guy gets injured, knock on wood, and isn't able to be traded at the deadline. That would be the most Canucks outcome possible.
And here's the other thing. When you start talking to these teams and you say, hey, well, listen, Boston's got the best offer right now. Other teams that are actually trying to win the Stanley Cup this year and have a legitimate chance are thinking, damn, that team that has a 32-4-4 record is about to add one of the top goal scorers in the league.
Yep.
The team that Boston hasn't lost on home ice in regulation this year.
That's insane.
They have not lost in regulation on home ice. And they could potentially add one of the top 3 scorers in the NHL this season. If you're other teams, you're like, well, maybe I do need to have at least a chance to beat this Boston team. Like, man, I don't know. I think it is better to start moving forward with it quickly as well.
Yeah. Anyways,
all right.
Well, thanks again to Frank.
Talk,
follow Zephyr Epic on all social media platforms. ZEPHYR Epic.com. Okay, Swedish House Mafia.
Oh, baby.
Let's hear it.
Some good stuff. Okay, well, Quads, you know me in Abbotsford. As much as this organization has been flawed this season, the exculpatory evidence of hope is down on the farm. I say it all the time. I have so much fun.
You do say that all the time.
I have so much fun out in Abbotsford. They're 9-2-1 their last 11. Vasily Podkolzin, I chatted with him. Aaron, you can get the video ready for this. Podkolzin actually named that Huglander, Aman, Carlson line, gave him the nickname Swedish House Mafia. Let's hear Podkolzin say it here real quick.
How about the Swedish line getting it done there late in the game?
Swedish House Mafia is so good. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they have been so good.
I love that the Abbotsford media availabilities are just you. And they Vasily Podkolzin meets with the media, and it's a one-on-one conversation between you and him with the Canucks Army Mike flag in the picture. That's it. It's literally just you. It's so funny.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Between the legs goal scored the other day by this Swedish House Mafia line. Some confidence really being showed from them. I'll keep talking, Aaron. You can go ahead and get the video just playing here. The between the legs goal for the win with, look at this, under 3 minutes remaining. And Linus Karlsson and this confident Swedish line who really controlled possession all of this game. So many scoring chances. They were playing together. They've been playing together ever since Niels Åman got sent down there. The whole Swedish House Mafia rolling, and just the confidence on Linus Karlsson to pull this off with under 3 minutes in a tie game. This is the game-winning goal. This is the 2-1 game-winning goal at the Abbotsford Center. You asked me how I'm having fun out in Abbotsford. It's because of stuff like this. Like the hands on Linus Karlsson, when I asked him about it, oh my goodness, silky.
And you've seen it on every highlight reel podcast.
For
listeners.
sure.
If you haven't, CanucksArmy.com, we've got it up.
Yeah, the goal is just gorgeous. And I asked Niels Höglander after the game about it, and he was like, that's NHL stuff. That's NHL hands right there. Also, Höglander said that he taught Linus Karlsson how to do that. He said he taught him that in the summer, how to do that. And then I asked Linus after. I said, well, hey, Niels said he taught you that. What are you going to teach him? And he says, I don't teach Niels Doglander anything, because the Doglander out there, he's the boss. That's
what he said.
The quote he called, well, he didn't say the Doglander, but he called Niels Höglander the boss of that line out there because he does so many things right.
36.
There he is right there, the Doglander.
Number 36, Niels Höglander.
He looks a lot better in 36 than he does in 21.
You know what? We got to, and you talk to him a lot more than I do, but like he's one of those guys that is always willing to talk to you. And I think you got to start ribbing him when you go back to the. We
had some fun at the last one after we did the.
When he comes back to Vancouver, you got to make sure he's wearing 36. That's on you. The fan base is counting on you.
Quickly want to mention a couple things about Danila Klimovich and Vasily Podkolzin as well, because I had a good chat with both of them. I chatted with Podkolzin on Saturday and Klimovich on Friday. And Klimovich, like some of the quotes that you saw out there that I was tweeting were pretty interesting about him, like reworking his mind and how he felt like he was just listening to the coach, listening to the coach. And then he's like, I got to do it. And he's been doing it. And they both laughed a little bit. We joked about it. Klimovich says all of his success since Podkolzin has gotten there is because Klimovich is putting in the work. Podkolzin tells me, no, because look at what he was doing before. He was struggling to score in 70 AHL games. And then Podkolzin's like, then I show up. Look, and I loved that. They were having some fun with it. And Podkolzin was chatting about that. The young kid, he likes a lot from Klimovich, and I don't know. I just it's not like a situation where he's like the father figure, but man, Klimovich has to look up to him in like a big brother role. I would have to think
they're tight,
right? They're tight. It was best man at his wedding. And the fact that they're getting a chance to play together. Klimovich got back onto the power play as well. He's been ripping it up at 5-on-5, but I saw him on the power play on Saturday night, which was good to see as well. Excuse me here. A couple of quick prospect things. Patrick Alvin, he was with McDonough at Fenway there, chatting.
Not
with,
at the season ticket holder event. Sorry, continue. You got a cough or something?
Yeah, I had something in the back there. Sometimes I think I suck in a beard hair every once in a while.
Oh, jeez. Okay, let's go. Just hurry up here. Prospects and then Betway, get us out of here.
Hey, the only policy in this house, honesty. In this apartment, the only policy is honesty. Patrick Alvin, like I said, he was with Aiden McDonough out there in Fenway. Had a good chat with him. It sounds like I chatted with McDonough a little bit on Saturday, I think it was. He was pretty excited for this Fenway thing. He scores a goal off the top, does the Adam Gaudette celebration, home run swing. And as well, we talked about Klimovich. Tell you what we can't say about Klimovich. Can't call him a teenager anymore. Birthday today. He turns 20 today. Lots of birthdays in the Canucks organization.
Him and Bruce Boudreau.
And our guy out in Abbotsford, Arshdeep Bains.
I thought you were going to say Don Taylor's daughter, because he brought that up on the show, but on Donnie and Dollar.
Here's the thing. That line out there of Bains, Klimovich, and Waters, two of them have the same birthday.
Wow. Okay,
good stuff.
Betway, let's go. The over-under. Actually, I'm not going to tell you the over-under. Don't look at the chat. Don't look. And no one got word of the day. You said it.
Nobody found today.
Nobody got word of the day.
Look who's smart.
Yeah, nobody got it. Okay, look who's smart. Okay, Betway wrap up.
Betway bets of the day. Betway. Connor McDavid, rocking with him. Listen, I'm going with the Oilers and Kings game today, but I'm not betting anything about either of these teams. I'm just betting on Connor McDavid. I got him in my fantasy team. He's carrying me in hockey fantasy. McDavid to get 2+ assists over on Betway, plus 155. $10 will return you $25.50 on Betway. You do that, you can get on one of the food delivery apps here, and you can get yourself McDonald's.
What? Okay.
Connor McDavid, 2 points. $10 bet, $25.50 against the Kings. Betway. Edmonton, then our second bet of the day. Edmonton Oilers to win and McDavid to put up 2+ points. Plus 200. This is basically the same bet, but if you want to, rock with the Oilers losing, you can go with the other one. So those are 2 Betway bets of the day over on Betway.
I counted 11
Tell you
there.
what, I'll be
Knucklehead
honest,
set the
my heart
over-
wasn't in this this bet.
Okay, you did great. Knucklehead set the over-under at 9.5. You crossed that. And also, Knucklehead did get the word of the day, which was what?
Yeah, they got it.
Exculpatory? Is that how you pronounce it?
Exculpatory, yeah.
Corey, Faber just talked about Aiden McDonough.
Yeah, I chatted with him a little bit. Just chatted about the opportunity to play at Fenway.
Yeah.
So
okay,
we'll see.
Yep.
He's got some time to figure it out. I don't think he's made a decision either way. I don't think listen, some guys you'd really hope that they're in a point where they're like, hey, I'm 100% signing with that team that drafted me. I don't think Aiden McDonough's there. I think he's still making a decision if he wants to be a free agent, go to whatever NHL team he wants, or if he wants to sign with the team that drafted him. I think that means a lot to him. I think that the Canucks took a risk on him, taking him in the 7th round. I also think that a lot of that was Judd Brackett because it's a Northeastern connection, and I think a lot of it came through that. So that guy's no longer with the organization. He's kind of the main reason that why the Canucks drafted him in the 7th round, but he still was drafted by the Canucks. I know he likes the organization and has a really good relationship with Ryan Johnson. I know that.
Yeah.
So nothing for sure about him making a decision either way. You would hope that he would be, because we've heard prospects talk about it, that they want to sign with the team after this year. I think he's still making a decision. So we'll see what happens with McDonough here.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. For my co-host, Chris Faber, our thanks.
Hey, big guest tomorrow.
Yes. Should we say it?
No, just in case it might happen on Wednesday.
It rhymes with...
He was on the show earlier today.
Bajili Bodgolzin.
He was like I said, he had a hit on the show earlier today.
Rhymes with that. We're hoping to chat
we'll
with
him either
tomorrow.
I think either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're working on
our
it.
Thanks again to Frank Seravalli for joining us today. For my co-host Chris Faber and our technical producer Aaron Bordato, name you can trust. My name is David Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?